Power of humor. In the Gospel of Matthew, it's written that Jesus said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." But in the Gospel of Luke, it's recorded this way: "Blessed are those who weep, for they shall laugh." I like that one. And that's what I want to do with you today, is laugh. To know together that whatever situation we might find ourselves in life, we have that power of laughter, the power of humor. The power of humor to sustain us. Because as soon as we find humor in any situation, especially a situation that's not a lot of fun to look at, right? We immediately have begun to turn it around. Now, I know it's not always easy to laugh at every situation in our lives, yes? For example, last week at a leadership meeting, I was sharing with a few people that as a clergy person, as a minister, it's against the rules for me to date anyone in this congregation. You're probably like, so you can imagine with the long hours, it's kind of hard to find a social life, particularly with, a boyfriend type of situation. But in the past year, I've been lucky. I've been able to rekindle a relationship with an old boyfriend. However, just this past week, I found out that my boyfriend and one of my closest girlfriends had just recently hooked up. And as you can imagine, it's been very hard on me, and it still is, because, folks, face it, I miss that girl a lot.
We got it.
I'm so bad at telling jokes, so it was a joke. No, I miss that girl so bad. I really never could be a comedian. But this is an example of how humor works, if it works. Most jokes start with a catch line that causes you literally, right, to stop breathing. When I was telling that joke, I heard some of the folks here just go, like that, and stop breathing for a minute. And then when I told the punchline, you were supposed to laugh. And that would help you to breathe again. But you didn't really follow it. Right. But that's what happens with jokes. You take an intake of breath, the catch, and then the laugh is the exhale, the breathing. You relax. A good joke will relieve more tension, hopefully, than it creates. I'll find out later today. That's why it's such a powerful tool to change situations in our lives. Now, the word humor is very interesting. It comes from an old Chinese system of medicine. It's 6,000 years old, the system. And in this particular system of medicine, there are 4 fluids that flow throughout the body called the humors. The humors are fluids. The word actually means fluid. So in this particular system of medicine, there is the blood, the phlegm, the cholera, and the melancholy. And they're circulating throughout our bodies at all times. And in this system, it's the job of the blood to go throughout the body and collect the repressed, unloving, and stored up emotions and bring them out to be cleansed. Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
I happen to think that this is absolutely brilliant, that 6,000 years ago, ancient Chinese doctors understood that repressed, unloving, stored up emotions would make people sick. That's why it's a system of medicine. But what's even more amazing to me is that they assigned to laughter the job of cleansing the blood. They understood that when you laugh, you cleanse your body. When they saw a person laughing, they knew that they were healthy. Listen to that. So if you haven't laughed lately, maybe you're not healthy. And they would say that person has a good sense of humor. Good sense of fluid circulating in their bodies. From Chinese doctors, that's where we get the expression of sense of humor, from Chinese doctors 6,000 years ago. If you were laughing, then your body would be healthy, and it would have a good sense of humor. How many of you know the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy? You know, it wasn't written too long ago. Don't worry, be happy. Well, it's a song, folks, with a very ancient message. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, be ye not anxious about your life. In other words, don't worry. He said, who by worrying has ever added any time at all to their life? Don't worry about tomorrow. The Apostle Paul said, in all things, be happy. Even Paul said that. Paul, who was a tortured soul at that time, said, in all things, be happy. Two of the most quoted people in all of the New Testament, Jesus and Paul, gave us the message, don't worry, be happy. Now let me ask you, has anyone here ever worried about something that didn't even happen to them? Never came to be? Did you ever spend any time worrying about something?
Yes.
Why do we do that? Why do we make up horror stories? You know, it takes just as much mental energy to make up a fairy tale with a happy ending. Believe me, if you're a writer, you know that. It takes just as much energy to create a horror story as it does a fairy tale with a happy ending. But how many of us do that? Now, if you're willing, I want you to make a fist with me, as hard as you can, a fist. Really hard, squeeze it really hard until it starts hurting. Is it hurting?
Yes.
Now let it go. Doesn't that feel better? Has anyone here ever had pain in any muscle of their body?
Yeah, sure.
What are you doing with your muscles? It's the same thing that you just did with your fist, believe it or not. You see, at times we tighten up our muscles so hard that our blood cannot flow through them. And if the blood can't get in, the oxygen can't get in. And the you medical people have to help me. The lactic acid, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Thank you. The lactic acid that's in there can't get out. It's a very normal reaction, a reaction actually that's supposed to be there. It's the part of the fight or flight response built right into our physical bodies. Most of you have heard about fight or flight, right? That reaction? It's what happens when you or I sense that there's danger. And by the way, the body doesn't make any distinction about whether there's actual danger there or you're just imagining it. You're just worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. If I become afraid, my body will begin to protect itself. My breathing will change. I'll start to take shallow breaths. My muscles will tense, readying themselves for action. And my thyroid gland will start to generate additional energy so that I can run. Have you ever gotten so scared that your hands get clammy?
BJ is the adrenals, not the thyroid.
Okay, thank you. I'm
We got
trying.
that kind of, the adrenals are on top of the kidneys,
Okay,
and they pump out adrenaline.
the adrenal gland will start to generate additional energy so that I can run. So anyway, have you ever gotten so afraid that your hands start to get clammy? Well, that's because our bodies are moving the blood away from the extremities towards the bigger muscles. I have a lot of nurses and doctors out here, so. But that to help us so we can run away, get away. The kidney function changes. It starts dumping adrenaline into the blood. And there's a chemical called ACTH, right? Which kicks off a whole range of physical changes that will help us to get away from danger. It's a wonderful hormone, except that it's toxic. It's toxic. It can hurt us. If it continues to be secreted for a very long time, as long as my brain tells my body to be afraid, the body will continue to react. And there's no shut-off mechanism, folks, for this particular enzyme, ACTH. And if it doesn't turn off, what's going to happen? It's going to wear out my arteries, give me a heart attack, and ultimately shut down my immune system.
Very bad.
Now, have you ever seen someone get so afraid that they literally shook? That's because the body has told the big muscles again to run. Let's get out of here, let's go. But the brain has told the body it has to stay for whatever reason. Maybe your boss is yelling at you and your ACTH is saying, run, 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 run. And your mind is saying, stay, 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 stay. You gotta have the boss yell at you, right? Take your hands again, put them together and squeeze them together as hard as you can until it starts to shake. Push hard, hard. Okay, you can start. Once you shake it, stop. That's why people shake. There's opposition between two powers. A part of us is saying, let's go, let's get out of here, it's ready to run. And another part is saying, no, stay. And all of this begins to weigh heavily upon the physical body. Mentally, if fear is left untreated, folks, it will grow into anxiety. Anxiety, if allowed to continue, turns into depression. And if depression becomes extended, it will result in hopelessness. You see what's happening? Fear, anxiety to depression to hopelessness. It's called the fear cycle. And in any situation that I find myself hopeless in, a situation that I think is hopeless, my life energy will gradually begin to leave my body. So it's really important that we learn how to stop this, right? How to interrupt the fear cycle.
Eliminate fear.
How to interrupt both that fight and flight response in our physical bodies. It's important that we do this so that we can have what? A happy, healthy, wholesome life. You know, I've been feeling, one of the reasons I dived into this and started researching and thinking about it again is I've been feeling my anxiety moving into depression, into hopelessness. You know, with the situation here at UCCM, what we've been dealing with for over a month now. So, I had to think, well, what is going to give you the kick that you need to get out of this? And fortunately, we have a science of the study of laughter. Did you know that? It's called geleology. Geleology. Have you ever heard of it before? Geology. And one of the things that geologists have done for us is that they have given us a wonderful definition of laughter. They say laughter is a series of spontaneous contractions in the 15 major facial muscles stimulated by gradually increasing electrochemical impulses concurrent with sporadic breathing. Did you know that's what's going on when you laugh? In other words, what happens when you laugh is the first thing you get is this huge explosion of air. An explosion of air sometimes up to 70 miles per hour. Can you imagine? Which is great because this powerful explosion brings out a lot of the old air. The old air with it. And then you immediately breathe in what? New fresh air, we hope. And this continues as you laugh very forcibly. Old out, new in, old out, new in. And then you begin rocking and rolling, don't you? As you keep on laughing, you bend forward and then you raise back. And before you know it, you're breathing really, really hard. And you've got your stomach muscles involved, and you've got the back muscles involved. And every time you bend forward and laugh, you blow out even more air. And as you continue laughing really hard, your breathing rate is going up really, really fast. And your heart says, hey, wait for me. And your heart starts beating faster, which is really good because you have all this fresh air, this oxygen coming in, and it starts to pump the oxygen all around your body, and you just can't stop laughing. And before you know it, you start slapping your leg. Have you ever gotten that far? And you're stomping your feet. And if you're really lucky, you're starting to cry because laughing and crying, especially at the same time, is one of the best ways to get toxins out of your body. You're literally in the midst of this wonderful toxin flush, and then you start hitting yourself on your chest. Have you ever seen that? When people are laughing, they start hitting themselves on the chest. In the humor business, it's called the thymus thump, because your thymus is the main gland. Maybe it's not. That controls the immune system. And if you're standing with your friends, what do you start doing to them? You start to hit them too. You start slapping each other on the back all the time. You're laughing harder and harder, and you're wallowing now. It's all you can do to stand up, isn't it? Because you're getting those jello knees, and you're laughing, and you're crying, and you're pleading with God, please stop, I'm going to die. And if you're really, really, really lucky, you end up laughing so hard that you fall right down on the floor. Does that ever happen to anybody here? I got through it. I hope so. I hope so. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to happen. That's what's supposed to happen, because one of the things that laughter does is it releases a world of chemicals to counteract the world of chemicals that are killing you, that come from fear and anxiety. Remember, when you're afraid, the body releases chemicals that make the muscles tense and tight. But when you laugh, the body releases chemicals that causes the muscles to relax, so much so you fall on the floor. Laughter immediately stops the fight and flight response in our bodies. It also breaks the fear cycle. It prevents the fear from turning into anxiety, that turns into depression, that turns into hopelessness. Does everyone know Viktor Frankl? Remember, he was in a concentration camp and he wrote that incredible book about his experiences. Well, Viktor got with a friend of his in the concentration camp, and they made a pact with each other to tell each other a funny story every single day about something that was going to happen to them when they both got out of there. Isn't that a divine idea? You know, if a person walks into any kind of tense situation and just starts laughing, what happens? Right? It breaks it up. Whether it's anything funny going on or not, it doesn't matter. It radically changes the energy in the room. You cannot have tension and conflict if one person is laughing. I know whenever I see a person laughing, I immediately feel safe because I know that person is happy. They're relaxed. You know, I dare you to be in a fight with someone you're laughing with. You can't really do it. You know, even in some of these election debates, they're starting to crack each other up. Aren't they? You know, because, you know, how long can you seriously insult one another? You're just starting to laugh now. There's no way that you can fight and laugh at the same time. Plenty of studies have tried to prove that you can do it, but you can't do it. It's the most powerful harmonizer that we have. You know, when I was a social worker, I know a number of you know that was my previous career. Whenever I would do couple counseling or marital counseling or even family counseling, I would ask the folks, when's the last time you laughed together? When's the last time you laughed together? The Japanese have a wonderful custom, a wonderful practice. Have you heard about these? They have laughing conventions. This is true. That's what it's called. I'm going to a laughing convention this weekend. And all they do at these conventions is laugh. There's only one rule, and that is that the last person conscious and laughing wins. They get together. This is what they do. They stand in a circle, and they all start laughing. And they laugh as hard as they can, as loud as they can, as long as they can. Until one by one, they each pass out. Until only one is left standing. We could do it here. I don't know if our liability insurance is in place. But can you imagine what would happen if you laughed as hard as you could, as loud as you could, as long as you could? Hard, long, loud, right? Would you be the last one standing? I hope not. I was going to say, I hope not. I hope you laughed so hard that you fell right down. Got those jello knees. That's what this is about, How much are we laughing? You know, I'm so grateful. Today is the day 20 of us are going to go and be out at the Camp Putnam, dinner to celebrate these 700 kids that get together over the summer for 8 weeks and laugh and feel joy. Some of the children in our midst go there. Aiden loves Camp Putnam. Well, in conclusion, I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know if you're going to laugh about this, but I find it very amazing. It's about the Eberus, Evarous. The Eberus is an amazing tribe in South America that are headhunters. I don't think they practice that today, but they have an incredibly powerful relationship with God and with laughter. They feel that everything in their life comes from God, and it's meant to be enjoyed. So they don't get so uptight about the headhunting as we do, all right? Regardless of what it is, no distinctions between good or bad, everything is to be equally enjoyed. And this is the way it works. Let's assume I live in an Evero community and my house burns down. Well, they'll give me a little bit of time to feel really, really bad about it. A little bit of time. But then it's a really, really good idea if I begin to laugh about it. And the harder and the louder and the longer I laugh about it, the better it is for me. Because if I don't laugh about it, they have a very quick way to ensure that this particular attitude does not spread throughout their community. Any ideas what they're going to do? They're going to kill me. Yes. And they don't just kill me, they have a public execution where they take me into the center of the community and cut my head off. And they do this for a very loving reason. Don't give meaning to anything, right? This is such a great lesson in this. They do this because they feel if I have lost my ability to laugh, then I have a broken spirit. And the best thing that they can do for me is to get my spirit as quickly as they can out of my body and back to God. So they cut my head off to free my broken spirit. And it goes to God. God repairs my spirit and sends it back into the body of the next child born in that community.
Wow.
So if I don't want my head cut off, I better learn to laugh. And I better learn to laugh hard and loud and long. And if you want to keep your head and to have a happier, healthier life, figuratively speaking, you need to do the same. So I decided to end this. I'm sending emails out at midnight last night, changing PowerPoint, changing the music, because what I want to sing is a child's song that is filled with joy and happiness in honor of those Camp Putnam kids, but also the children within us that need to laugh a lot more. And that is, I am happy, what is it?